Hello, how are you? I'm so glad you're here. As you'll see today, I'm in the car, recording from in the car, and that kind of ties in a wee bit about what I want to talk about. Um, so today we're here and we're into December now when this video was going out. So I thought it would be quite good to talk about how December can be quite a tricky month for lots of us, with lots of different things going on and lots of potential triggers there at this time of year. So I suppose the first thing to think about is in general, it's a busy time, and with that in mind, I'll keep this quite short today. So it can be a busy time, so that in itself can be a trigger for stress and therefore a trigger for pain for many people living with persistent pain and other symptoms. So it's being aware of that and noticing what different triggers, what things are triggers for you. So I think first of all, as I say, about the sort of general busyness and all that's involved in December and lead up to Christmas. And a lot of it can't be avoided. There inevitably is more things going on. There's lots to do, and that can be stressful, which can lead to an increase in symptoms, both in anxiety and also, therefore, in pain and other symptoms, depending on what problems you may have. So, what can we do about that? Well, again, a lot of it can't be avoided, as I say, but what we can do is factor in some alternatives. So, if you know there's a busy day, a busy week, or something coming up, then see if you can make a bit of a plan. Now, it's not really, I suppose it is sort of pacing in a way. I don't really like to call it pacing so much. It's more in terms of having a plan as to what you're going to do. So, if there is a busy day or a particular lot of things going on, then how can you offset that again? So you think everything's about a balance. How can you offset that busyness? So it may be, well, I know I've got a busy morning or a busy day. So the following day, I'm going to try and have a quiet morning, and do something, not only rest, but something that fills you back up. Because it's not just about resting, it's about kind of offsetting the negative bit. And that isn't just complete rest. That's something that boosts you, that fills you up. So something that you enjoy, that gives you your energy a wee bit of a refill, when it's been drained by the busyness. So it's thinking about that and planning a bit as how to sort of offset the busyness if you can during the time ahead. Now the other big thing I suppose that comes up at this time of year is having to go to probably mostly family events, and that can be very stressful and triggers a lot of people, having to be in that environment with people who maybe set off your symptoms, who set off the alarm bells and raise your stress levels quite significantly. And it could be like we talked about in the last video. It could be because they talk about your pain, they talk about your symptoms a lot, and that increases your anxiety. And it could be completely unrelated. They may not talk about that at all, but it's just the history that's there, the things they say, the way they behave, that set off all your anxiety levels and raise your symptoms again. Now, where possible, if you don't have to go, if there is a way for you not to be in that environment, then absolutely you should take that choice. But sometimes it's not possible, and actually the outfall from that would be worse. So saying you can't go or avoiding the situation or whatever will actually cause more stress. So it's not always as straightforward as just say, well, don't go, because that we know in reality that isn't always how things work. But again, if you do have to go, then keep your boundaries clear. You don't have to sit and listen to folk who are purposely or not causing you stress. Try and keep away from certain people you know trigger you. Try and avoid sitting next to them if you can. If that's not feasible, then try and limit the amount of time you're there. So if it is an event that you really don't want to go to, but you feel you have to, then I'm only going to manage it for an hour, and then I'll have to leave and make that the rule, because you're allowed to set your own boundaries. It's not about being rude or not, acknowledging people making an effort to include you, but you don't have to sit and put up with situations that you know are going to make you feel worse. And we all have them. So as I say, it's not always feasible not to go to these things, but think about how you can minimise the disruption to your own well-being if you can. Limit the time you're there. Try and keep away from certain folk if you know they tend to trigger you more than others. And again, the same as if it's a busy time, plan in something to do afterwards that's going to help regulate your nervous system again. So something that's relaxing, something that gives you pleasure, not just going to your bed and lying down if you can avoid it. If you really need to do that, that's fine. But see if you can get something that fills you back up. We'll talk about that more in another video, but it's not just about the rest. It's about actually refueling with something that gives you a bit of a lift as well. Rest in itself is great, but we need the lift after these very draining situations. We want to kind of fill you back up with something that gives you joy and pleasure. So if that's a nice warm cup of hot chocolate, if it's sitting watching a Netflix movie, if it's colouring in, if it's sitting out, going outside in the air, if it's going for a drive to the beach, if it's sitting with a cosy blanket and your cat in your lap, whatever it is, something that actually gives you joy, that fills you back up, to help offset the draining situations that you're probably going to have to encounter over the next wee while. So I'll leave you at that for just now. As I said, the thing is just to try and be kind to yourself. Acknowledge that this is a difficult time of year, that there will be triggers there, and that's okay. Like everything, it's temporary, it'll pass, and try to plan in things to offset these negative experiences, these stressful experiences that you might well have to encounter. So try and think of things that fill you back up, and try and replace the energy that these situations are draining from you. Okay, so if there's anything, drop me a wee line. I'm always happy